Hi everyone, I'm Heather from Woolly Elephant. Now I just wanted to do this quick video to warn everybody about the dangers of cats and sewing. Now I see many sewers posting all the time that have got cats. Now I'm pretty vigilant with making sure there's nothing anywhere left around that could be of any danger to my cats. Or so I thought. I lock everything up, all my thread is locked up. Every time I finish sewing, I unthread my machines and it's put away. Everything's put away. They're not left in here when anything's open and I'm not in here. I'm so safety first. I'm so afraid of anything happening to any of them. You'll have seen my cats in my videos. I've got two beautiful Maine Coons. But it's happened to us. I came into my room on... what day was it? It's a few days ago. Anyway, I unthreaded my machine. This is my regular domestic sewing machine. Dukey with a hard cover on. I'd been doing some sewing. Now, there was nothing out anywhere. But I was nipping in to check on dinner. Now, Odin was asleep, as was Zeusy, and I thought I'd just whip the thread out. I wound the cone up. I pushed it into the throat of my machine, and I put my hard cover on over the top. Now, there's very little gap there, as you can see. I can only just get my fingers in it. Bear in mind, your cats watches you all the time. It didn't occur to me that they might push this up. Your cats watch you all the time. Now, I can only just get my fingers in that. I thought, that'll be alright. I just shoved it inside there, put the hard cover on. That's safe away from my cats. I was gone for less than 2 minutes. When I came back in, Odin was sat here on the table and he was playing with thread. He'd got his paw. Now, bear in mind, my cat has got, I can't really show you, he's asleep. He's got giant paws. Now, the average person's just got a regular sized cat with tiny little paws. They may have got in there. My cats have got giant paws. Never for a minute thought they'd be able to get paws in there, or that they even would. But he did. And he came in and I had this thread here. This thread was sitting in the throat, right down in there. Just lift that up. It was in there, in the throat of my machine, in there. He had somehow got his paw in there, got it down, grabbed the top so it was reeling off the cone and out through this gap. And he had thread around. Now, I thought I'd literally just caught him in time. And I'd got the thread off him. It all came out. It wasn't chewed up, nothing. There was a bit of a soggy bit on the end. There was quite a lot. Got it off him. He was trying to get it back off me while I was doing it because he loves bits of string. Anyway, I got it, wound it up. It didn't appear to have... It looked clean on the end, like it wasn't snapped. He didn't have any look like it was in his mouth. I wound it up, put it away, chased cats out of the room. Didn't really give it a thought. I think it was last Saturday. Yeah, it must have been Sunday. Must have been last Sunday. Must have been last Friday, Friday. Then on Saturday, so bear this in mind, keep an eye on your cats. We gave him his food. He'd had his food in the morning as normal. I gave him some food in the afternoon. And he just, within a few minutes, he'd thrown it all straight back up. Now, that usually precedes a hairball. When he does that, when they throw up all the food, you think within 24 hours you're going to have a big hairball. You just can't keep the food down and they bring it up. Anyway, he just kept being sick and then retching. Every few hours he was retching when there was nothing left to bring up. And that persisted for a couple of days. By Tuesday, and he still hadn't eaten anything. He hadn't used his list tray, he hadn't eaten anything. We took him to the vets because we were worried about him not eating, because if your cats don't eat for longer than 3 days, it can start to have an effect on when the fats break down, the body starts breaking down the fat, it can affect the liver quite badly. Anyway, so we got him to the vets on Tuesday. And he was having a look at him. We said, what's been going on? I said about the thread, that I'd caught him with thread, but they couldn't see anything. He was quite resistant. He's a big cat and his jaws are very strong, and he had a look in his mouth, but he didn't see anything. Anyway, gave him some anti-nausea medication. They couldn't feel anything blocked in his stomach because we were worried that hairballs can get blocked. But they couldn't feel anything, so they gave him some anti-nausea medication. Maybe he was just feeling unwell. The other cat had been sick a couple of times as well, so they did the same with him, and we brought them home. Anyway, he stopped being sick. But another 24, 36 hours and he still wasn't eating. He was getting weaker and weaker. So we took him back to the vet. My husband took him back to the vet while I was at work. This time, because he suddenly went downhill. He was quite weak. He hadn't eaten for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. He hadn't eaten for 4 days because he'd eaten something on Saturday morning. He hadn't eaten for 4 days. So this wasn't good. Anyway, the vets had another look at him. He was weaker, so he could get his mouth open further this time, and they saw something at the back of his tongue. So anyway, because it was hard to see, and he was still resisting even though he was quite weak, they sedated him. And then they could open his mouth better, and they could see he had thread wrapped round the back of his tongue, which explained why he couldn't eat. He was trying to drink with his paw. He was just getting water on his paw and trying to drink with his paw. But that explained he had it wrapped round the back of his thing. Anyway, so they've sedated him, and then they've started to pull the thread, and it meets a little bit of resistance, which means you can't pull it anymore. So bear that in mind. If you ever catch your animal eating a bit of string, a bit of ribbon, a bit of thread, don't pull it, or if you pull and even feel even the slightest resistance, stop, because it could be caught in their guts and you could damage something. Anyway, so they kept him in. They sent him for an X-ray. He had an X-ray. I don't know whether they could see it on the X-ray, but they said because they were pulling and there was some in there, and they'd had an X-ray, they said became surgical. So they put him to sleep, and when they put him to sleep, they found he'd obviously had taken in quite a lot, and it had tracked all the way through his intestines. So on Thursday he had surgery, and they had to cut his intestines, put 3 incisions in his intestines, because each time they started pulling some out of a certain area, then they'd get resistance because it was caught somewhere else. So they had 3 cuts, and they've cut it out in tiny little bits, all this thread. And so he's had major abdominal surgery to get all this thread out. Now, this is from me, someone that is so careful. I am so careful with all this kind of thing. I never thought this would ever happen, because all my thread is locked up in boxes like this, or in drawers that lock. So it's never available. Everything is always unthreaded. Anyway, we're devastated that he's had to have this, because he was really poorly. If he'd gone another day or 2, he would have died without a doubt. So I thought I'd make this video as a warning to everybody that's got cats and has them in their rooms with them and might leave thread out and about. You think your cat won't? Well, it will. So this is little Odin here. He's got a cone on his head, so he is recovering. It's been rough because he wasn't passing urine, and he had elevations, and the liver thing had started with him, and it was kidneys, and things weren't looking so good at all. Yeah, he likes hanging off the edge. There he is. But he's now home. Now, you also got to bear in mind the absolutely nightmare cost of all this, not only to your cat's health, but the actual monetary cost as well. So for all his surgery and all the appointments that he's had up to now, it's come to, I think, 2,100 and something or other. They wanted on the day of surgery to keep him in emergency care overnight, which they didn't do on site, and they had to send him somewhere else. But then they dropped the bombshell on you that would be a minimum of another £1,500 on top of that, possibly £2,000 for one night, just to keep a check on him. Anyway, we have insurance, but we didn't have quite enough insurance for that, especially if anything else came up, then we wouldn't be covered. So we brought him home. They told us all what to do. I stayed up with him all night long. He slept with me. They told us to call emergency services if we needed anything for him. Anyway, he was okay. And then he was taken back into the vet at 8 o'clock the next morning, and they kept him in all day, put him on fluids and to monitor him actually in the vets, which was considerably, obviously, less. The aim was to get him eating because his liver was starting to be affected, and by now he hadn't eaten for 6 days. Anyway, I got a call saying that he was starting to eat. What would he eat? So I'd said, because he's so fussy, he'd only eat his cat food, not what they were giving him, and chicken. They said they had some chicken, so they put chicken around, and when he came out his cage, he just wolfed it down and started eating it. So that was a relief, and he's never stopped eating since, really. He's making up for lost time. He's been making up for water with lost time. But the meds he's on now is making him very sleepy, which is good, because now we can't have him. Can't let him be jumping around all over the place for a few days, because he's had major surgery. So I'm quite ashamed that I actually put my cat in that position. I know it wasn't particularly my fault, because I didn't think he could get his paws in here. I thought I'd protected him, but this video is just to make you aware, no matter what you think you've protected them from, cats are little terrors for getting into things, and they watch you and they learn. So if you haven't already, make sure you go through your craft stuff, your sewing stuff, anything that's especially ribbon, string. This was thread, this was a polyester thread and stuff like that, and make sure it's safe for your pets, for your cats especially. And wish our little Odin well. He's still got a bit of a road ahead of him, but hopefully in a couple of weeks he's going to be feeling a lot better. He's not so happy about wearing a cone on his head, and we've got to keep him separated, not completely separated from his brother, but we can't leave them alone together in case he starts licking his wound or something like that. And Zeus, his brother, is feeling quite stressed at the moment. He's finding the cone very stressful, and he's hissed at him a few times. He knows there's something going on and he's not well. So it's quite stressful for him too. So anyway, thanks for listening. Please bear that in mind. Tell anybody that you know that's got a cat and has got a sewing space and has cottons and threads, and just be knitting wool. Think about knitting wools as well. You know, if you have a basket or a bag by your chair, they could just as easily swallow those. And just be careful. Love your pets, but just be aware of the cost. Make sure you are really well insured. When my insurance comes up for renewal, I'm going to up it. We only had £3,000 worth of insurance. It wasn't enough would have sent him to the overnight care otherwise. So make sure you've got enough insurance. I would recommend at least £5,000 worth of insurance to make sure that they are covered, because it is so expensive. Anyway, on that note, happy crafting.